going to put a point here and call that point D. Actually, I think I called that D, but it's okay. I wasn't recording it, so it doesn't matter. We'll call it triangle. I think I said ABD. ABC, and then I'm going to put a ray in it, BD. Now, we can call it angle ABD and angle DBC, but I like it with numbers. They're easy. I'm going to put a 1 there and angle 2 there. So I'm going to say angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. Now, that's the kind of question you would have to answer. And why are they adjacent? They share BD, you see it, and they share B. They have to have the same vertex, and they have to share. Second definition, linear pair. It's easy, but people get this one and the next one not necessarily confused, but we'll talk about them. Are, now to be a linear pair, they have to be adjacent. Two adjacent angles. See how, and I'll write angle with an S in the middle of it for plural. I guess assume that you know what I'm writing when I write it that way. Whose sum, S-U-M sum, of measures is 180 degrees. Now we're going to do two here at the same time, and I'm going to tell you over my experience of teaching geometry I taught it a long, long time ago, but the last few years when we're doing notebooks and that kind of stuff, this one and the next one, people kind of get them confused, but they go together. They have to be side by side, and they measure 180. What does 180 degrees look like? We said that the other day when we talked about angles. What did a straight angle look like? Yeah, it was like a straight line, wasn't it? And the word line is kind of in this one. So go down about 3 lines, 2 or 3. I'll go down 3. And I'm going to draw a line with my ruler, my straight edge. And I'm going to put a vertex in the middle. And I'm going to draw it not split evenly. I'm going to do like an acute one and an obtuse one. And I'm going to put an angle 3 here and angle 4, because sometimes they don't have letters. Sometimes all you can name those is angle 3 and 4. So angle 3. Do they add up to 180? Is a straight line 180 degrees? Is it? Yep. Always? Always. 180 on that side, 180 on this one. So angle 3 and angle 4 are a linear pair. Now let's do supplementary. You ever heard of that word? First block said they had heard of it. Supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are 2 angles. Now I want you to look at the difference in the definitions. Whose sum, S-U-M, of measures is 180 degrees. To be a linear pair, they have to be attached to each other. To be supplementary, they don't have to be, but they can be. So these are supplementary also. But you would say linear pair because they meet both conditions. Supplementary, here's how I do it. I take my ruler, I'm going to go down 3 lines, and I'm going to go over here, I'm going to put me a vertex, and I'm going to draw me a ray going that way. And then I'm going to come over here and put me a vertex. Look, how I'm doing it. They're separated. I separate. Now, we're going to make this one, we're going to eyeball it. I'm going to make it an obtuse. I'm going to make it more than 90. I'm going to do it about like this. So we're going to estimate, we're going to call it angle 5, and I'm going to say that's about 120 degrees. That's an estimate. Now, if you want it to be at supplement, this ray right here, if you use your ruler and kind of make them parallel, look what's going to happen. Then this one would be 60. Oh, let me do this. Let's call it angle 6. And then I'll put 60 degrees right here. Now, it's a good thought question. Do they add up to 180? Does 120 plus 60, 180? So they're supplementary. Are they a linear pair? No, because they're not attached. See the difference? So here's what we're going to say. Angle 5 and angle 6 are supplementary. Ooh, I should have done it on the next line. I'm squeezing it in there. Supplementary, you can barely see it. They are not, and I'm going to underline not, a linear pair. So let's go back up to this one, and we're going to say angle 3 and angle 4 are a linear pair and supplementary. So they're actually, I'll underline and. They're two answers. But if you only can give one answer, which is what's going to happen in your classwork, you would give linear pair. You would give the most descriptive definition. I'm going to do complementary angles. So had you heard of supplementary before? Have you heard of complementary? Do you know the difference in them? People always get them confused. Complementary angles are two angles whose, so you will definitely want to do your classwork with your notebook open, whose sum, S-U-M sum, is 90 degrees. They can be adjacent. They don't have to be. Usually they are, because let me show you how the easiest way to draw them. Because what is a 90-degree angle? What kind of angle? We defined it the other day. What's its name? A right angle. Take your ruler and go down 3 or 4 lines, ever how much room you have, and draw you a ray right on one of the lines. Now you can take your ruler, whatever kind of ruler, if it's a ruler. Now if it's just a straight edge, you won't have this ability, but I think you can still do it. If you take your ruler and when you turn it sideways, if you kind of line it up straight with some of the lines on your ruler, then you can easily make a 90-degree angle. See? And we show 90 by doing that. So that's why they're usually adjacent, but they don't have to be. So draw you, and don't try to split it down the middle because I don't want you to think it has to be half and half. And let's draw a ray in the middle of it, and let's say angle 7 and 8. Now do 7 and 8 add up to 90. Angle 7 and angle 8 are complementary. Or angle 7 is the complement of angle 8. If angle 8 was 20, then angle 7 would be 70. If angle 7 was 50, then angle 8 would be 40. So if you know one, you can find the other. You probably never heard of this one, and probably of these, this is my favorite one because it's got a lot of arithmetic that's true statements, and everybody, they get it, but they forget them. This is the one everybody forgets. They're called vertical angles. Now, I'm not going to give you a definition. I mean, I guess you could Google it. I'm just going to tell you about them, and then I'm going to show you what they look like. I don't really know how you describe them. Vertical angles have the same measure. This is the last one. I call them scissors. I call them ironing board because a lot of people don't iron anymore, so they don't know what I'm talking about when I say that. You can call them crisscross. You can call them a lot of things, but it's the idea of if you open a pair of scissors, if you set up the ironing board, the legs do like this. Okay? Now, do you see that I have several straight lines? So I got 180 here, and I got 180 here, and I put them all together. And what happens when you have two lines that cross, we know lines can only cross in one point. I think that was in lesson 2. I think that was in the classwork. Then look what's going to happen. You can just take your straight edge and just draw a line, put wires on the ends of it, and sometimes they make them lines, sometimes they make them segments, but we're just going to make them lines. And we're going to call them angle 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do you see any angles that look like they're the same? Now, I see a bunch of linear pairs that are supplementary. I see 1 and 2 are a linear pair, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 1 and 4. So all of those add up to 180, and you can prove it really easy. Angle 1 and angle 2 are called vertical angles. They're the ones that are across from each other. So angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles.
Would it be angle 2 or angle 3?
Oh, 3, I'm sorry, thank you. I said it right, wrote it wrong, thank you. Yeah, 1 and 3. Now, the only way all 4 of them would be the same is if it was right angles. You know, if it had been right angle, all of them would have been 90. And then what's the other 2? Now I'll get it right. Angle 2 and angle 4. Now, do y'all know what I'm doing when I do this? These little ditto marks, like quotes. Do you know what that means? Y'all ever use those? That just means the same word. If you got a long sentence and you mean the same words, you can just do them. And they're called ditto, D-I-T-T-O marks. Okay, let's do a few problems like you're going to see in classwork. Number 1, draw like the same picture that you had just then. So just crisscross your 2 lines. And I'm going to show you what they're going to ask you. Okay, we're going to put a 51 degrees right here. Now, why they use a B, I don't know, but when I do a B, I make it cursive because I don't want it to look like 6. So I put a B there. So it'd be like that on classwork. And the first question they're going to ask you is, of all the sets of angles that you have, what are these 2 angles? Okay, we'll go through your list. Now, they're obviously adjacent, but there's something else too. So I'm not going to use, I can't just stop at adjacent. I'll give you a hint. They're in that linear pair supplementary thing, right? But are they adjacent to each other? Are they? Are they right next to each other, these 2 angles? So they are a linear pair. So the first thing you're going to do is tell me what kind of angles they are. Now you're going to do the arithmetic and tell me what B is. Now, how would you find the arithmetic? What would you do? What does a linear pair add up to? Isn't that a straight line? So you do 180 minus 51. You with me? And I'll do the arithmetic for you for time's sake. It's 129. Put degrees on your answer. Now, I don't always check these. I don't always put it on all of them, but put it on your answer. Number 2. Okay. This one I want you to draw. Draw me, actually, let's just do them up and down. Be quicker. Draw me 2 lines, 2 perpendicular lines, and we're going to put a right angle right here. Oh, let me go up. And then I'm going to go over here and draw a ray. And I'm going to put a B right here. I think they use B on all of them. And I don't know why. I'd have used an X or something, but I don't know why they do it. And they put a 22 right. What kind of angles can you, because you really got to know what they are till you do, before you do the answer. What can you convince me these are? Now, they're obviously adjacent. Adjacent is not going to be the answer on any of them because they're going to be something else. What do you know about these 2 angles? What are they probably going to add up to? If this is 90, is this going to be 90 over here? Because that adds up to 180. Look at all the arithmetic in it. That adds up to 180. If that's 90, this has got to be 90. And if 2 angles add up to 90, they are what kind of angles? Complementary angles. Write the whole word. Sometimes I'll let you abbreviate, but you can do angles like that. How are you going to get B? 90 minus 22, and you get 68 degrees. Now this time you're not going to make them lines. You're going to make them segments. You're going to crisscross me some segments, but you're going to connect them and make little triangles out of them. And I'm going to put the B here, and I'm going to put 62 degrees right there. I'm telling you, all year, every year, I mean, even in January, we'll be saying, what are these? And people will be going, oh, I say vertical. Don't forget, ironing board, vertical, crisscross, vertical angles. Now, what do we know about vertical angles? They're the same measure, so what's B? 62 degrees.